So heading up to the next event for the day is the IIA-BCG report launch. The launch of this year's IIA-BCG report will be done by an esteemed panel I'll just introduce. And this year's report, the fourth edition of it, focuses on Viksit Bharat. I must say that the IIA and BCG teams have burned the midnight oil to get it in this shape, and it will be unveiled here shortly for all of you to read. We are honored to have a distinguished lineup on stage for this launch. May I please request Dr. Arvind Virmani, Honorable Member, Minister of State Rank, Niti Aayog, to grace us with his kind presence. Dr. Virmani specializes in policy and institutional reforms for sustained, fast, inclusive economic growth. He's a macroeconomist who has played a prominent professional and advisory role in the economic reforms of the 1990s and 2000s, such as tax, tariff, foreign exchange, financial sector, and expenditure policy reforms. He was the founder chairman of the Foundation of Economic Growth and Welfare, EGROW, and president of the Forum for Strategic Initiatives, FSI Delhi. He's earlier served as Executive Director, IMF, Chief Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance, and Principal Advisor, Planning Commission. So a lot of hats Sir has worn. He was Director and Chief Executive of ICR-IER and has published over 60 journal articles, books, and chapters, and more than 100 working and policy papers in macroeconomics, growth, tax and tariff reform, foreign exchange, international relations, and national security strategy. He was also a member of TRI and mentor to FICCI, member of Technical Advisory Committee on Monetary Policy to RBI. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your kind presence here. A big round of applause for Dr. Arvind Virmani, sir. Joining him on the stage is our very own Shubhajit Mandal, co-founder IIA and co-founder Cyber Sierra. I'd also request Vivek Mandatta, MD and partner BCG, to please join us on the stage. Over to Shubhajit to take it over from here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see a room full of people, a buzzing space outside where people are talking. Thank you again, everyone. Thanks a lot, Dr. Virmani, for taking out time from your busy day to help us with the launch today. Thanks, Vivek, and the whole of the BCG team for helping and supporting us throughout the year, all the way from the start when we started in 2020. This year's BCG report is special because when we started IIA in the middle of COVID, inclusion was a very clear mission. So I'm very glad that this year we did a report focusing on Viksit Bharat, focusing on how to get that inclusion and the insurance coverage going. With that, I would request Vivek to come and share a few words about this year's report before we get into the launch.
Thanks, Shubhajit. It's been a pleasure in terms of the partnership with IIA, and every year, I think at the beginning, we challenge ourselves together on what more can we do, and as I see the group here and the event evolving, I think next year is going to be an even bigger challenge for us, and I look forward to that. Just in terms of what we covered in the report and the direction we went in this year, I think the panel discussion earlier kind of covered a lot of what the industry needs. And a lot of the thought process was around the three pathways: the pathways around awareness, the pathways around accessibility, and the pathways around affordability. And what role can technology, data, insurtechs, and insurers together play as this ecosystem needs to move towards insurance for all. With that in mind, as we spoke to multiple stakeholders, the insurtechs, the insurers, I think the common fabric that was emerging is that the intent is very, very strong in this industry. Whoever you talk to, the intent to use technology, the intent to use collaborate comes out very, very strongly. I think the challenges ahead, which the entire ecosystem will work towards to overcome, is how the collaboration becomes more seamless. How do we go beyond distribution? How do we solve for problems like fraud with technology so that a genuine consumer gets the best of experiences and the bad culprits are penalized equally hard? And I do believe that at India scale, technology is the only way for us to really unlock insurance for all. We've seen that happen in many spaces. India as a country and the consumers have proven that they have the wherewithal to break traditional growth paths and catapult decades in terms of how innovation moves forward in terms of digital areas. I honestly believe that with this group and these set of innovators sitting in the room and beyond, insurance industry will also catapult and demonstrate over the next few years that we will break through in terms of how we deliver insurance, how customers experience insurance. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vivek. Yes, you are right. Just thinking about what to do for next year's report, I'm already racking my brain. I'm quite sure the BCG team, Suhail sitting down, is also thinking what to do next year. We did a big case study focus last year where we spoke to a lot of our members. And one of the key things that you told Vivek today was very helpful, that people calling you out saying, oh, there's an event happening, you're launching the report, and inbound, that is a testament to our growth. So thank you again for the support. With that, I will request kindly Dr. Virmani to come and share a few words about our report.
Thank you for inviting me to come and speak to you. I have glanced through the report, but I want to kind of put it into perspective. Viksit Bharat has been mentioned, and I want to say a little bit. You know, I work in the Niti Aayog, which is the word stands for, most people don't know, it's the National Institution for Transforming India. It's rather an ambitious title, but you know, our boss is the Prime Minister. So in 2014, we kind of abolished the Planning Commission and set up Niti Aayog. So we no longer have centralized planning, but it is the PM's idea that we must all start thinking of what Viksit Bharat involves. So his idea was not that the Niti Aayog or the government will have a plan for Viksit Bharat, but that everybody, including us in Niti, government departments, institutions like the one we are attending here, the states, districts, everybody should think of what Viksit Bharat could mean for them. So in that sense, I'm very happy that this report has been done, because in some sense, you are doing that thinking, right? The exact projections you have made, I have seen them. Those are not so important. But the idea is to start thinking of where we could be, where we will be, where we want to be, and what that implies, in your case, for the insurance industry. So in that sense, I'm very, very happy that such reports are being written, that you have written this report, and that you discussed it. I guess you had some discussion on it. So I welcome that. Before ending, let me just mention 3 or 4 issues which I think are important from government or regulators' perspective, and for all of you also. I will, of course, be speaking on my version of Viksit Bharat later in the day, so I don't want to go into that right now. But 2 or 3 issues which I have kind of had an interest in and which I think are important. One is, of course, fraud. There are all kinds of fraud, whether it's online fraud, actual insurance fraud, etc. is a very important issue for the future. The evolution of the industry will depend on a lot on how that is addressed. And my view has been that the regulators should also take a much greater interest in it, to create the structures which will allow the industry to cooperate and work on these issues, because there has to be somebody above the industry, because everybody on their own cannot address this issue. Of course, we have examples from the banking system, etc. The second one I've always taken a lot of interest in is the startups and the environment we have for startups. It has been a struggle, actually, because most people in government bureaucracies think of, in the old-fashioned way of MSMEs, small industry, micro industry. The concept of startups actually, again, I'm sorry I'm mentioning the Prime Minister, but he has really taken it much further than anybody. I mean, he really understands that the future of small industry or small services, it's really the startups who are going to be the future. But the bureaucracy has a difficulty in concepts of understanding risk, how to deal with risk, how entrepreneurs deal with risk, etc. So that is an area which I think is very important, where I think about and try to do whatever I can. And finally, the digital. You also mentioned this. I think you just mentioned the importance, but I may talk about it a bit later, but for those who may not be here, I think the future is not just digital India, which I'm sure you heard a lot about, but hybrid system. The new word I learned a couple of months ago is phygital. I don't know how many of you have heard it. You must have. But I just learned about it a few months ago. And I think both domestically, where we will innovate, but also internationally. One of the slogans I have is, I call it skill for India, skill for the world. So the innovation in these hybrid systems, because we have this large skilled, unskilled, low skilled, middle skilled population, is going to come from India. So I encourage you to innovate not only in the digital space, but also in this phygital or hybrid systems, because we have the people. With that, I don't want to bore you too much. I guess we have to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vermani. Yes, phygital, or the hybrid word, I'm quite sure everybody in the insurance sector sitting here is very much aware of. One more minute. Without further ado, thank Shobha for bringing us the physical copies, the first physical copies of this year's report. I will also request the BCG team to come on stage quickly. Pallavi Milani, Head of Insurance, Partner BCG, as well as Suhail Bansali, Partner BCG. If I could have you guys on stage. And Sunil from our IIA team, if I can also have you on stage before we do a quick handing of the first booklet to Dr. Vermani. With that, I will request Vivek to kindly stand up and give the first copy to Dr. Vermani, and this is the official launch of the IIA-BCG report.
A big round of applause, please. The report is finally out. It will also be up on the IIA website shortly.